Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome in if this is your first time to my channel. Today's video is a super exciting one for me because I am finally looping back around to a product that I tried a few months ago and did a first impressions video on, and I now have some updated thoughts and opinions after trying these out for a while. And I am of course talking about the Daniel Sandler blushes. So I have two different formulas. I have both the liquid formula as well as the gel. And then I also have a bronzer from Daniel Sandler that I'm gonna touch on today just because it's looped into kind of this brand review that I'm doing. I'm so excited to show you how I apply each of these products and how they look on my skin. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. I have four different products from Daniel Sandler. The first is the Watercolor Gel Cheek Color, and I have the shade Petal. So this isn't the formula that Daniel Sandler became kind of famous for. It's the newer formula of their blush. And this one is intended to be a little more user-friendly because it's a gel sort of consistency. Right now, this one comes in 4 different shades, and that range seems okay to me. They do have really great pictures on their website that show their different products on a variety of skin tones. So that does make it a little easier to kind of pick and choose which will be best for your personal skin tone. I have 2 of the kind of cult classic watercolor cheek colors from Daniel Sandler, and I have one in the shade Caress, which is a nice peachy pink, and this one is a matte finish. And I have one in the shade Rose Glow. This one is an illuminator, so kind of their version of a liquid highlight. Both of these formulas come in a huge range of shades, and just like with this gel cheek color, they do provide really good charts and photos of these shades on a variety of skin tones and ages, so you can get a feel for what will be best for you. So at the time I was buying those blushes, coincidentally, this powder bronzer was free with a purchase over $25. So I hit that mark and got this in the mail as well. I definitely have mixed feelings on this. We'll get to that while I'm applying it, but as you can see, it's a pretty warm toned standard powder bronzer. So let's go ahead and actually jump into the application of these products now. I'm going to do just quick live swatches of each of these products, and then I'll also show you how I like to apply them. So up first here is the bronzer, and again, as I said, it's just a nice standard kind of orangey toned bronzer. I like to use it on just like a nice fluffy brush. I will say the fact that this shears out is the one really nice thing about it that I feel like makes it potentially worth a slightly higher price tag. I do have some really great drugstore bronzer favorites that also I feel like are just as kind of blendable and perform just as well. For example, my e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer I feel like is wonderful, and also there are 3 shades of that product and only 1 of the Daniel Sandler. But I will say that a lot of the drugstore bronzers I've tried in the past, one of the issues is that they, don't blend out super well, or if you accidentally apply too much, it's really hard to kind of buff it out to make it look more natural again. So that is one thing that this bronzer definitely has going for it. And while I'm doing this is probably a good time to mention that Daniel Sandler Cosmetics, their website recommends that for all of their blush formulas, you apply them before you apply any powders to your face. However, in my testing, I haven't had any issues applying it over top of a powder. So for example, I powdered under my eyes, but my blush will probably run over that a little bit into the powdered area. And same with this powder bronzer I just put on, it'll probably overlap quite a bit with the blush, and I haven't had an issue with that. I mean, maybe don't powder down like your whole face or your whole cheek area before applying them, but I haven't had any issues with some minor overlap. Okay, so that's the bronzer. You can see I was able to build up a nice light layer. I'm definitely very pale in the winter, so the fact that I'm able to make that bronzer work for me when my skin isn't super tan is a benefit. However, at like the $25 mark for that bronzer, I just don't think it's anything outstanding that you need to like run and go grab now. In contrast, you'll see that I do think the blushes are a worthwhile investment. My plan for blush today is to apply Caress to one cheek. So again, that's the matte one. And then I'm going to apply Rose Glow over the top of that as my highlighter so that you can see how these two layer. And then on my other cheek, I'm going to put Petal, the gel formula, and then I think I'm going to actually layer that one with a powder highlighter that I have, just so you can see kind of how it interacts with a formula that's different than itself. Okay, my only downfall of these so far is that the packaging on my Caress one came broken. So I don't know if you can see, there's just like a crack up there. And so it does leak a little bit, and I have to store these standing upright so that they don't spill everywhere in my bathroom. But to me, that's a pretty small price to pay just because I love these so much. It is truly a liquid. It is like the consistency of water. So when I'm applying these, I just hold my hand out flat and then I tip it, and you'll see the drop come out. It's truly like water. And one drop gets you this much, and you can see how liquidy it is when it's running down my hand. And I only use one drop at a time. And then I always just take my brush and just kind of buff that into my hand and into the brush. I'm using a duo fiber stipple brush from e.l.f. that I'll link down below. This costs $4, and it's by far the best thing that I've used to blend these blushes in. So I just blend it in until it almost looks like it's blended away on my hand, just so that it's really worked into the brush. And you can see that's the shade when it's blended out. So then I just go in with the stipple brush and start applying to my cheeks. And you can see just that one drop of color added really, really nice, healthy looking flush to my skin. So what I love about these is that they're really buildable. You can add another drop to your hand and, just continue to build this color up. I will probably build up a little bit just for the sake of you all seeing it on camera. But you can also get just such a natural, like lit from within looking flush. I mean, that looks like the color my skin would produce if I were actually blushing. And I think the fact that you can still see, the glow from my skin underneath, so you can see I'm wearing a pretty glowy foundation. You can see that glow from underneath. It doesn't obscure that, but it is a matte finish, so it's not adding any more glow to your face. I'm gonna go in with like a half drop, so about this much of the product, just to build it up a little so that you can kind of really see what it looks like, what this shade looks like. Okay, so there's a second layer of the shade Caress. Really nice peachy pink. Okay, and then I'm going to build up Rose Glow as just my highlighter on the high points of this cheek, just with that same exact brush and the same exact technique. So I'm gonna put it kind of in a different spot on my hand, so hopefully I'll be able to show you these two shades side by side. So there's Rose Glow, so you can see how much shimmer and reflect is in there. And again, I just buff it into my brush. And then I'm going to just be a little more careful with this brush and kind of hold it on its side so it only targets the areas where I really want that highlight. And I will say Rose Glow for me, especially when I'm this pale in the winter, is actually a really gorgeous blush on its own. It is a little shimmery, so if you don't love a shimmery blush, you probably wouldn't like that, but I don't have any issues with this emphasizing the pores or the texture on my skin. It's just a really beautiful glow. So there it is with Rose Glow on top. A little hard to tell the color of Rose Glow here just because I layered it over something that was so peachy. So I'll just show you on my hand. So I have kind of up in this realm, I have Caress, that blush shade, and then down over here, kind of partially on my wrist, is where Rose Glow is. So you can see it's much pinkier. It's less of an orange tone. It's definitely more of that pink base. And then you can just see how shiny and shimmery that is. Now moving on to the gel cheek color. And again, I have this in the shade Petal, which is also kind of like a peachy pink shade. Whenever I'm trying new formulas like this, I'm hesitant to buy shades that I'm not as sure how it's going to look on my skin, or with my skin tone, I should say, because I don't want the fact that I dislike a shade to influence my thoughts on the formula itself. So I definitely stuck in kind of this like peachy pink realm that I know I really like on my skin tone, especially when I'm investing in something a little pricier. You know, I want to make sure it's something that I'll get a lot of daily use out of. So you can see here, this is the shade Petal. I'll spread it out for you guys so you can see. In contrast to the liquids, which you saw running down my hand, this one's staying put. It really is like a gel formula. My favorite way to apply this is to just squeeze a little out of the tube and then put it on my finger and start tapping it into my skin. So this is why I think Daniel Sandler Cosmetics has deemed this one kind of like the more user-friendly one. The liquids certainly take a little bit of like practice and takes a little bit of time to get used to how to apply them, and you kind of need like a special brush. You can't just kind of pick like any brush that you might already have unless you have a synthetic duo fiber brush. Whereas this one is really great for like travel, on the go, etc., so that you can just really tap it on. Nice and easy. It's about the same shade tone as Caress. I would say, if anything, Petal leans just a little more pink. I'll compare here on my hand. Okay, so I actually think I'm wrong. Here's Caress and here's Petal. I actually think Petal is almost exactly the same shade. If not, it's, even a little orangier, possibly. Just like with the liquids, you can see that it's not taking away kind of like that natural glow I have underneath, but it's not necessarily adding any additional glow either. And now I'm just gonna build up a second layer to show you kind of the intensity that I usually get this to. Okay, and here is Petal with 2 layers built up. And then, as I mentioned, I just want to give you all an example of how a cream formula like this might layer with a powder highlighter. I haven't had a single problem with either of these formulas, so the liquid or the gel, building up just fine with powders over top. So you can see, shows up just as blinding as you would hope. Okay, I am going to hop off, finish up the rest of my face of makeup, and I will be back for some final thoughts. As always, the products that I use for the rest of my makeup look today will be listed down in the description box below, just in case you're curious about anything else that's on my face today. I've mentioned this kind of throughout the video, so this shouldn't come as a surprise, but I think this bronzer is fine. I don't think it's anything outstanding. I wouldn't run out and pick this up right away, especially for the price that it's at. However, I would run out and buy these, especially now that I've used them. I feel very comfortable with the techniques required to get the look that I want with these blushes. So the gel is definitely going to be your best friend if you're a little bit more intimidated by cream or liquid products, or if you want something that's extremely travel friendly. You saw how quickly I just tapped that out with my finger. Didn't require any special brushes or techniques or anything like that. As much as I love that gel cheek color, I think I love the liquids more. So these to me are just such a unique product. I don't have anything like them. I've never really seen anything else like them on the market. I think the closest thing I can think of is the Cosmetics Serum Blush Drops, I think is the name of them. I have not tried those myself. They're in a similar price point to these, so I don't necessarily think that, it's a better value or a cheap dupe or anything. I certainly haven't ever seen anything quite this liquidy in the drugstore or affordable markets. The longevity of both of these formulas is outstanding. It is truly unbeatable within my own collection, and I just can't imagine something lasting more than 12 hours if it's not this blush. I have tried so many different cream, powder, and liquid blushes all throughout the years, and never have I come across a formula that lasts nearly as long as this. I love how both of them look. I think that it's such a youthful, natural glow, and because it's such a thin consistency, it just blends into the skin like nothing. I absolutely adore it. So bottom line with these Daniel Sandler products, I'd say they're somewhere in the mid-range in terms of price. I don't think they're outrageous. I think that in comparison to kind of their closest competitors in the higher end blush sphere, they are not priced too high, and I think they perform way better. I definitely would recommend these to anyone on the market for blushes. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you would like to see similar updates on other products that I try out this year, please consider subscribing to my channel before you go. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.